Hello, everybody. Kim here. We are on our final portion of Charles William Kingston being excommunicated from the LDS Church. This one is a little easier to read than what I found on Sunstone, and this one is from dcsociety.org. And it starts, in August 1928, Brother Charles took his wife Vesta with him to the temple in Salt Lake City to do temple work. As the recommendations were read, the man asked Charles, "Are you Charles Kingston from Idaho, or the one from Ogden?" referring to Charles Kingston Sr. Charles answered, "I'm the one from Idaho." The man told Charles, "Well then, if that's the case, you can't go through the temple until you see the president for the temple, who was Brother George F. Richards." As he was waiting for his temple recommend to be examined, Brother Charles told Sister Vesta there was a little difficulty about his recommend, and if he could get it taken care of, he would follow her through the rest of the session. But if he was unable to do this, he would meet her at a small gate in the east wall of the temple grounds. Brother Charles tells the experience. "I went into the president's office and faced the president, who was sitting on the opposite side of the table. Brother Christensen, the temple recorder, was a dear friend of my father and mother, was in the room, pacing back and forth behind the president. I didn't know why, but he appeared to be very agitated. The president, Brother George F. Richards, said to me, 'Brother Kingston, do you believe in plural marriage?' I answered, 'Yes, sir, I do with all my heart.' Brother Christensen said, 'Yea, and so do I.' The president continued, 'Do you not know the policy of the church on this subject?' 'No, sir, I do not exactly,' I replied. 'Have you not read the statements of President Joseph F. Smith and President Heber J. Grant in the Deseret News and in the Improvement Era on the subject?' 'Yes, sir, I've read them all.' Hitting the table for emphasis, he said, 'Then why do you not understand?' I said, 'Because you men at the head say one thing, and then you go ahead and do the opposite.' He said, 'Brother Kingston, before you can go through the temple, you will have to promise me 3 things. First, you will have to promise to forsake and turn your back on that principle and never have anything more to do with it. Second, you will have to promise to forsake the friends who have been teaching you these things. Third, you will have to make it right with those you have offended.' I said, 'Well, Brother Richards, you have given me a mighty big order. I don't know if I can do that or not.' 'Well,' he said, 'that is up to you.' After Brother Charles was told he couldn't go through the temple, he spent the next 4 hours talking to his friends around Salt Lake, who had been teaching him the gospel. The man he approached advised him to make the promises and then not keep them. Brother Charles told him, 'I couldn't do that. If he made any promises, he was going to keep them.' Not satisfied, Brother Charles talked to Charles Zitting, who told him, 'I would be careful as to what promises I would make, especially a promise as important as the one they demand of you.' Immediately, Zitting called J. Leslie Broadbent on the phone and made an appointment for Brother Charles to meet him at 2 o'clock that same afternoon. He met Charles on the second floor mezzanine of the Hotel Utah, now known as the Joseph Smith Memorial Building in Temple Square. Brother Broadbent told him, 'Brother Kingston, you're in a very serious situation. A lot of us have lost all we had in this world.' A lot of us have lost all we had in this world when they had been faced with the same things you faced this afternoon. But I want to tell you, Brother Kingston, that if you make these promises and keep them, when your family finds out what you've done, they won't consider you as much as a yellow dog. They'll lose all respect for you. Brother Charles said, "That's the way I feel. But shall I go back and tell them I won't make those promises they want me to make?" Brother Broadbent answered, "No, don't ever go back and see them." And this was according to a talk given by Charles W. Kingston in March of 1958. Brother Charles continues to tell the story. "When I met my wife that afternoon, she had been all that time worried sick of thinking of what might happen to me. She said, 'Now what kind of mess have you gotten us into?' When he presented the situation to her, she was very upset. Up to that time, Vesta was 100% for the church. She believed in the church. Brother Charles was one of the prominent men in the ward. He was one of the 70s. Sister Vesta was very active in the church activities and in the Relief Society. They paid complete, exact tithing. The church had been their whole life. If Brother Charles lost his membership in the church, she was going to stay with the church and raise her family there. Sister Vesta told Brother Charles, 'I'm going back to Idaho Falls on the next train, and I'm going to leave you. The children are all on my side. Your father and mother and all your brothers and sisters will hate you. The church people will be against you, and the law will be looking for you. And all you would have to do is make one little promise, and you won't even do that. That proves how much you think of us.' Brother Charles said, 'Well, dear, I have put you and the children and all things I have besides you on the altar of the Lord, and you can do anything you like. That will make no difference to me as far as my decision is concerned. Everything I have is here on the altar, and I'm no Indian trader. I'm not going to ask for anything back.' Brother Charles began to recall the dream he had when he was much younger, and felt this experience being blocked from the temple had been foreshadowed. In his dream, Brother Charles was shown that sometime in the future there would come a time of great decision, that he would face a crisis in which his whole future and the future of all those depending upon him would hang in the balance. In the dream, he was told to stay on the path and never stray from it. Brother Charles had told his dream to his mother when he was younger, and she remembered it many years later. When Brother Christensen, the temple recorder, informed Charles' parents regarding his status in the temple, they wrote a letter to Charles. Ogden, Utah, September 24th, 1928. Dear Charlie, we've been wondering how matters are regarding your standing with the brethren at Idaho Falls. We have learned that this matter is rather more serious than we had supposed. Your mother is nearly broken up about this thing. We hope you will meet the requirements of the brethren and not start something which we feel will be very disappointing to you. If we understand this matter correctly, your very standing in the church depends on your humbling yourself and getting back into the way or the favor of the church. Under no circumstance must you allow yourself to be severed from the church. We wish you come down next Sunday. You and Vesta, let us pray over this thing together. Your mother takes your dream as of much meaning as she interpreted to you. So do be careful and be sure to come down Sunday. Our great love for you and your wonderful family caused us to write this letter. From your father and mother, Charles Kingston." And I'm going to skip a little up a little bit until Charles meets with his son Eldon, because Eldon Kingston is the one who started the Davis County Cooperative, which turned into the Order, which turned into the Kingston clan. Soon after Charles' parents visited his son Eldon, who was married. Let's start that over. Soon after Charles' parents visited his son Eldon, who was married and living on a farm in Roberts, Idaho, which is a really tiny town just outside of Idaho Falls, came down to Idaho Falls to talk to his father. Eldon asked him if he would walk with him into town. Brother Eldon asked, "Father, I understand you're about to lose your membership in the church. Is there any truth to that?" Brother Charles replied, "Well, it kind of looks like it." Brother Eldon said, "You know, Father, I would rather lose my life than lose my membership in the church." Brother Charles answered, "I feel the same way, Eldon, but there's one thing I would feel even worse about losing than even my membership with the church." That was quite a surprise for Brother Eldon. Brother Eldon asked, "What is that?" Brother Charles answered, "My standing before God. My standing before the Lord means more to me than anything else." Brother Charles said, "Let's you and I search out the truth together. If you are right, I'll need your help. If I'm right, you'll need mine." About 2 or 3 times a week after work, Brother Charles would get on the evening train to go to Roberts, meet Brother Eldon at the depot. They had 3 hours to discuss the gospel before the Butte train arrived to take Brother Charles back to Idaho Falls. Brother Eldon also went to Salt Lake, to the church historian's office, to make a thorough investigation of the things he was told. This program was carried out for some months, resulting in Charles' son Eldon becoming more convinced that his father was right. In November of 1928, Brother Eldon had a dream in which he states an angel of the Lord came to him and showed him a ship in the ocean preparing to sail for a distant port. The angel said, "Son, your mother is on that ship, and that ship is going to sink. Your mother is going to have only one chance to get off. If she fails to take the chance, she will go down with the ship." Brother Eldon wrote her a letter, and soon thereafter he came down to Idaho Falls and told her of the dream. He had become quite concerned about the family. He well knew the meaning of the dream concerning the sinking of the ship and his mother having only one chance to get off. He told his mother of the dream and the meaning of it, which seemed to help her. In the meantime, the church, the bishop, and the stake president decided they were going to take action against Brother Charles. The church sent B.H. Roberts to drop Brother Charles from the presidency of 146th Quorum of the 70s. B.H. Roberts was one of the LDS Church general authorities, first council of the 70s. He was a noted church writer and assistant church historian. He was also the stepson of John H. Worley, who knew about the 4 hidden revelations. And the hidden revelations are the ones that John Taylor had received at the Woolley farm. As Brother Charles told the story, after the opening prayer, Brother Roberts asked me if I wanted to ask any questions. I asked him if he knew who wrote the manifesto. He said no, which I knew to be a lie. Brother Joseph Brunt asked me if I knew who wrote it. I said, "Yes, I can tell you all about it." Brother Roberts then said we did not have time to go into that and asked me if I was guilty of the charge of believing and teaching that the manifesto was a man-made document that the Lord didn't have anything to do with it. I said, that is my belief and teaching. I then asked if I could talk with Brother Roberts alone. In the middle of the meeting, B.H. Roberts and Brother Charles went off to another part of the building. B.H. Roberts knew Brother Charles was teaching the truth, but he wanted Brother Charles not to talk about it. Brother Charles later wrote in a letter some of the things that were discussed with B.H. Roberts. B.H. Roberts told me the same thing concerning the revelations of 1886, and also admitted the three, namely the ones of 1880, 1882, and 1889, were authentic and from the Lord. He told me they had been unwisely published. I said, if they were unwisely published, they must have been unwisely given. And since one of them is addressed to the people of my church by the Lord, you must have considered the Lord unwise in giving such a revelation at that time. This conversation took place in the Idaho Falls State Tabernacle on February 10th, 1929. So, those were the local church authorities, the Utah church authorities, and the state presidency talking with Brother Kingston. And while they were admitting that, yes, they knew these things, yes, they knew where these things came from, they still ended up excommunicating him. And so for following what he found in church history and church documents and believing and living those, he was excommunicated. The church told him, yeah, we have nothing else to do with you. They gave him time to try and change his mind on the matter, and he was like, no, this is what the Lord said, this is what the Lord believed, this is what the Lord has shown me, so no. So that was the excommunication of Brother Charles William Kingston. Sorry, I've read this thing aloud several times and I'm still getting tongue-tied from it. So that's where we're going to end the excommunication of Charles William Kingston. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Otherwise, like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you on our next one, okay? Thanks. Bye.